Okay, everybody, and welcome to another Sports Community Esport Friday. I'm Steve Pallas, Cameron Osterlin, Sports Community Esport Guru. Welcome to you.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Oh, well, kicked out of the studio again because Microsoft is updating, changing. Other than that, I'm being hacked by the same people that are trying to get the coronavirus solution. But where are we taking us today on the esport journey that we're going on?
Well, today we're having a little bit of a look at something that just happened on Wednesday evening all around Australia, which I'm told is a world first. They're claiming it as a world first, so I'll believe them for the time being. And that is that it was a virtual golf tournament held across the country with indoor facilities used in multiple different locations to play the same round of golf together. Something that you shared with me the other day, and we're going to have a dive into it because it does look quite interesting.
All right. So you sure you'll be right? There's no cars driving around trying to get goals or anything like that? You happy to go more traditional sport this week?
Well, yeah, I think one of the risks certainly that's abated by virtual golf, you don't have to worry about hitting balls onto, off the course and hitting people's houses and windows. My old man lives on the back of a golf course, and that was always the first question I asked when he picked up that plot of land is, what happens if someone hits a golf ball at your house? So I guess that's but yes, no, it is a bit different to Rocket League, but I mean, I'll play anything. So you give me something that's a game, I'll pick it up in 5 minutes. Don't you worry. What about you? Does it look like something? The idea of virtual golf, is it something that appeals to somebody that is less well versed in the virtual world?
Oh, well, just take it back a step. If we just look at X Golf for a moment, X Golf is effectively using physical facilities where you've got a simulator, so you're actually hitting a golf ball into effectively a net, and you can choose any course in the world to play, and all these sensors kind of work out how the shot went. So it's that combination of physical and virtual together.
Seems like you know more about it than me.
Well, I certainly know the X Golf because a group of my friends who we try and play on a monthly basis every year, and it kind of turns out to be 4 or 5 times a year. There is an X Golf just up the road, and the thought is, well, do we play on a Monday night and just have a round of golf, and you can knock it off in an hour and a half, 2 hours. It combines the other things that I love about sport, the bar. So it combines having a bar, the drink, and so it picks up a lot of the barefoot bowls elements as well. So I guess it's just a natural extension of the technology, Cam, that then links it to via the internet to come together to create a virtual round in the same way that we're seeing Strava running groups and Zwift cycling groups and those sorts of things.
Yeah, and currently happening elsewhere in the world as well is the virtual Tour de France. So there's plenty of ways where we're finding the combination of technology, bringing in elements of real sport into a virtual environment, which is, I guess, what we've been talking about with the congruence and the eventual kind of combination things that are starting to happening with technology. And it's very clever technology. So there's a couple of things at play in the world of virtual golf. There's some systems that use ball tracking, some that use club tracking. So there's a whole range of different options. People could literally have a setup at home that costs potentially less than your average console, but then they also range all the way up to being the price of more than your average family sedan. So there's a whole variety of technology at play and ways to get involved in a virtual playing of golf. But yeah, I guess it's great to see people thinking outside the box and using something that has existed for a little while, but actually trying to find ways to incorporate it and I guess bring it a little closer to home and to the way that people maybe understand the sport and how it works, and bridging the gap and getting some of those people that maybe don't think of it as the same as golf. Well, obviously it's not the same, but people that perhaps look at virtual golf as something that's too different from their normal thing, and trying to bridge the gap a little bit. But also at the same time, as we've talked about a number of times, potentially opening the door to people that maybe haven't thought about going down to a golf course to check it out. Give them a little swing down at X Golf, see how they enjoy it, and maybe that can open the door to them coming into the wider world of golf. So it kind of works on both sides.
Unquestionably, and I had in my physical golf game a slight problem that at a certain length, about 100 metres out, the ball would go almost right angles, and that was a technical problem with my swing. And so I went to Rich River. It wasn't on the Murray, and it wasn't an X Golf facility, but it was set up the same. It was a virtual golf with ball tracking, swing tracking, and video. And in about 5 swings, the pro was able to identify what was wrong and just show me how to fix it. And it just felt so good. So from a learning the sport perspective, it's such a powerful way to learn the sport, rather than what we've traditionally done, go onto the driving range and just hit away till we kind of find something that works. It's actually, I agree, it actually enhances the experience of new people coming into the sport, and they might not ever go on to the golf course. They might just stay in the virtual, or they might proceed to the golf course. But now what it allows us is to play a round of golf. And ultimately, there's 2 parts to golf. There's the skill of hitting the ball where you want it, and then there's the walking around the course part. And so that it's the walking around the course part that causes golf to be 4, 5, 6 hours long. Whereas if we can play at X Golf where the hitting the ball part's the same, by and large, and then we'll continue to improve without that walking around the course part, but still having the socializing, then we're picking up, I mean, the benefits of both are coming together really well. And what this is showing is that we can be having, the US Masters, people can be all over the world, for example, playing on the same course at the same time, and creating those real competitions virtually, but physically.
And another thing to touch on is the mitigator of weather. So indoor facilities, whatever the sport, removes that variable and makes it more accessible in times when an outdoor environment is inaccessible. So finding ways, we often find cricket clubs, for example, ending up at an indoor facility when they're washed out, or that baseball club's going down to hit some balls. It's a great alternative when there's some other factors thrown into the mix as well.
Well, and it's also, when we look at it in the broader 13 weeks now, Cam, when I guess me coming into the discussion and the journey you've taken me on, I thought esport was, well, to be honest, I thought it was predominantly first-person shooter programs and games like Rocket League, even though I didn't know about Rocket League. But now we're seeing that we've got that level. Then we've got virtual sports like the basketball, the footballs, even the AFLs, a few generations behind. And then there's the next level up, which is that convergence of physical activity. And we're seeing lots, like through the COVID period earlier on, Rowing Australia ran a rowing competition with people with the rowing machines in their homes, and had something like 2,000 people participate. You've touched on motorsport a lot. We're now seeing golf, karting and gliding. We know have anything that's kind of got a simulator. It's the next logical extension, isn't it? The simulator then links up to be a collaborative sort of competition.
Yeah, and they broadcast it to their audiences. It becomes a content production as well, or the opportunity. Not necessarily something that everybody would have to do in this kind of example, but they're broadcasting to the masses. You've got various content being put out. It's also across two different categories. So they had kind of the pros and then the amateurs all competing at the same time at the same place. So that opens the door to a whole nother avenue of interaction and engagement. So yeah, it's a very cool concept that they've run with, and hopefully we'll see it a little bit more. But let me just show you a couple of examples of some of the technology quickly.
Yeah.
And the I guess the variety. So here's an example that's only $300. I say only $300 compared to what I'm going to show you next, which is probably similar to what X Golf use. But this is sort of like something that you could potentially take to a course with you, combine some GPS tracking from your phone. So there's plenty of apps out there that already exist that are standalone, where you can track where you are along a golf course. You can see how far you are from the green. So you can actually figure out and assist you in choosing a club, or figuring out if there's any obstacles that you potentially can't see. But then combining that with an attachment for a golf club, you can give yourself more information while you're playing the sport. So that's kind of that convergence of technology with the sport as well, all happening at the same time. But that also means you could just take the same technology at home and just swing away and try to improve your swing. Something at a small, well, it's still not like cheap, is it? $300, but it's a small investment. Compare that then to a similar kind of setup to what they use at X Golf. That's a US price tag as well, I should add. So that's $8,200 for everything that you'd need to have a home setup, US dollars. So you're probably talking what, $12,000 to $14,000 Australian. But that includes all of the ball tracking, the club tracking. It includes all of the nets, the projector. So you do need a whole variety of different types of equipment to get this kind of setup going. Is that big enough for you? Let me zoom it in a little bit. So this is part of the technology tracking. So as you're swinging, they're tracking the club. They're tracking the projection of the ball. So depending on how you hit it, whether it's going to cut or slice. Then you've got the net itself, which kind of acts as two different parts of the setup. You've got the screen so that you can see where you're hitting, but also it catches the ball, because some setups have a live ball that you're actually hitting. And then there's other sorts of bits of equipment. So you've got some of the landing pads. You need a projector. So there's a lot of equipment involved in this sort of setup. So it's not always, going to be accessible to everybody to have at home, but it shows you the variety of options that are out there with the technology as well.
Yeah, the other thing is that, Cam, that like anything else that just starts off, this is just new, but the pricing is going to come down and down and down as it becomes more popular and people become more innovative, et cetera, et cetera. So just waving to the local there, which is, I thought he was about to come in and say hello. So so it'll become more accessible, and we'll see whether it's people setting up motor racing in their homes, or their push bike, or their golf. We're seeing this wide variety of activities that are coming together. So the question is, the thing that's fascinated me is, where can it go, and how do clubs use this? And I guess one of the obvious things with X Golf is that we can be sending out representatives from our club. It could be a badminton club to go and play X Golf, and then get access to another audience, etc. But Cherry says, and good morning to those that are watching online. And if you want to join the conversation, I was remiss of not inviting you in early. Just join the conversation or say hello. But some of our pentathletes are currently involved in World Laser Series, Home Laser Shooting Series, worldwide comp, utilising their own equipment, has been a positive and continued engagement. And I'm assuming, Cherry, that's introducing your sport to a much broader audience than potentially that you've been able to previously. So we might, Cam, we might have a look at that next week and just have a look at the worldwide competition for the pentathletes and see where we see what we can learn from that as well. Because again, it's just a different physical sport in going into a virtual world.
Yeah, and I think it's the opportunities that are afoot for you when you're networking across the world. Like you've got so much you can do when you can have a golf, like you could have a golf expert phone in to teach a bunch of kids. Say there's 20 kids that you want to have a once in a lifetime experience interviewing Tiger Woods. Like that's not something that would ever happen. But like, not saying that it will happen, but that's something that could happen in a virtual environment where you could literally have somebody who's maybe paid a much smaller fee than you would maybe need to have Tiger Woods to come over to Australia to come down to your backyard thing. And, you've got to fly him out, accommodation, all those sorts of things. Rather than that, imagine being able to virtually connect with somebody who can literally see how all the kids are interacting rather than just saying, oh, good job, kids, keep it up. He could literally be coaching some people and providing feedback. There's all sorts of opportunities for the technology to integrate into the lives of people playing golf.
Yeah, it's cool. Anything else to show us today, Cam, before we head off for the weekend?
Well, I guess it's a good opportunity to also mention that X Golf did partner with a charity, which was Challenge, supporting kids and young people with cancer. So, shows that there's other ways to use the technology as well. Part of a fundraiser, you can have some challenges, you can do all sorts of things like that. So that's also great to see, and worthwhile supporting and throwing out there. But otherwise, no, that's it for the virtual golf. If you've got any questions about it, I'm sure we can answer them. If you've got any inquiries about the technology, I can try and bridge the gap there as well. So let us know if you've got any feedback about virtual golf, if you've had any experience with it, what your thoughts are. There's also some opportunities about talking about the amount of space it takes up, for example, as well. So, golf courses are not easy to throw into everybody's backyard. They take up quite a lot of room, and sometimes that's a criticism of golf as well. In places where that is a potential problem, virtual golf could be a solution put on the table as well. So plenty of options there in the virtual environment.
Yeah, great recruitment to the sport, I think, and I'm really looking forward to looking at the pentathletes being involved in the home laser shooting series. So we'll have a look at that during the week, and we'll have a look and see what we can learn from that next week, Cam. So until next week, Cam, thank you so much. Well, it's an action-packed week next week on the Sports Community live streams. On Monday, we've got GeoSnap, and we're going to be really excited to be launching a competition with GeoSnap about finding one of the best photos that we've got in our sports clubs and some great prizes there. So we'll launch that on Monday. On Wednesday, we've got Doing Sport Differently Wednesday. So we're really excited to have Kate from the Warrnambool Triathlon Club talking about their program for women, or predominantly inactive women, and it was called From Couch to Coast. So how did they create a program that got a whole group of people that weren't participating in the sport and had never participated in the sport comfortable enough, skilled enough, confident enough, and that's the important word, that they really enjoyed the triathlon. And then as we go through the week, Cam, we finish the week as normal with Esport Friday. So until next week, Cam, great work. Until next week, thank you for being part of our sports community.